Welcome to the Nourish Child podcast, a show about childhood nutrition, feeding kids, and dealing with the ups and downs of growing a healthy child. Here's your host, registered dietitian and childhood nutrition expert, Jill Castle.
I'm Jill, the host of the Nourish Child. Let me ask you something. Do you wonder if your child is getting all the nutrition they need? Or do you feel unsure about what's going on with your child and their eating? Feeding kids is hard. I've raised 4 of my own children, and as a pediatric dietitian who works with kids and families, I know the job of nourishing and nurturing our children is a big one, full of emotional swings, frustrations, and worries. That's why I created the nourishchild.com, the ultimate parent resource for children's nutrition and feeding. There, you will find free articles, e-guides, and programs to help you better understand your child, food, your own feeding, and their eating. Check out The Nourish Child today. Head to thenourishchild.com. And now for the show.
Happy New Year, Happy New Year, Happy New Year. Welcome back. It's Jill, and I hope you had a restful, wonderful holiday season. Maybe you had some time off with the kids and were able to just rest and take the pressure off from all the daily demands of getting kids to school and getting them fed and all sorts of things. Sports, you know the drill. Well, we are here. It's 2024. Happy New Year to everyone. I myself have had a break at this juncture and super energized and excited for 2024. I just spent some time finishing up the second proofs of my upcoming book, which will release just in time for back to school in August. And the name, which I can now share, drum roll, is Kids Thrive at Every Size: How to Nourish Your Big, Small, and In-Between Child for a Lifetime of Health and Happiness. So there you have it. I know it's still a long ways away, next August, but I, have read, obviously I wrote the book, but I have read it a bazillion times now, it feels like, just to make sure everything looks right, reads right, no errors, no typos. You know how there's like a million eyes on this book before it actually hits the shelves. But as I went through this second proof of the book, I was inspired to create this kickoff episode on the Nourish Child podcast to kind of give you sort of my 3 wishes for you in this upcoming 2024 year. So let's get into it. Number 1, focus on your whole child. You've probably heard this term before. It's tossed around a lot, but I want to share with you what it means to me. It's the combination of physical health and emotional well-being. So let me explain a little further. We often get caught up in focusing on our children's health, but for most of us, that generally means physical health or a freedom from medical conditions. But for growing children, we should really be also focusing on their emotional well-being, using a broader lens of physical health and emotional well-being. Why? Because physical health affects their emotional well-being, and vice versa, emotional well-being affects their physical health. You really can't have one without the other. And so we should address both with equal emphasis. So I encourage you to ask yourself as you start this year off and you are planning for your nutrition goals perhaps, or your family feeding dynamic goals, whatever you're thinking about, ask yourself a couple of questions. And these are just a couple of examples. 1, what is talking about my child's weight or size or eating behaviors do to their sense of self? What does it do to their self-esteem? What does it do to their body image? Another question, how is a lack of guardrails around food affecting your child's physical health? And a third question, how do my parenting decisions around sleep, screens, food, and other lifestyle behaviors affect both my child's physical health and their emotional well-being? And I know also on this show, a lot of professionals who work with kids listen in. Teachers, coaches, healthcare professionals, they can ask themselves similar questions. For example, how does my advice for better physical health affect a child's emotional well-being and their mental health outcomes? How do my suggestions for improving the food relationship or having improved well-being impact a child's physical health? I don't think we can continue to separate physical health and emotional well-being. The two are interdependent, they're dovetailed, they're interlaced, and they should be treated as such. So my wish for you in the new year is that you think about your child as a whole person, one who needs an equal focus on physical health and emotional well-being. Anything less increases harm and risk for more problems down the road. And I just want to pause here. I feel like I sound like a frog. And I know the last episode I said this too, but I got hit pretty hard in early December with COVID. It was my second time having it. I hadn't had it since I think May of 2021, and it hit me really hard and my voice still has not recovered. So I apologize for the froggy voice, but it is what it is right now. Okay, so let's get back to the New Year wishes for you that I have. And let's move on to the second one. So the second wish is move away from numbers and appearance and move toward body functioning and daily behaviors and habits. So it's no surprise that our society focuses on appearance and size. And unfortunately, our society is rife with bias about size. Things like large is unhealthy, mid-size is healthy, or small is ill. This unfortunately sends a message to kids in bodies that fall outside of the social norm. Some kids will learn that they need to increase or decrease their size to be quote unquote healthy and acceptable. They learn as they grow to react to their size and try to change it. This causes harm to their emotional well-being, and sometimes it perpetuates harm to their physical health as well. Embracing lifestyle behaviors, however, sends quite a different message. It frames positive behavior as an enjoyable part of the daily routine, not something that's engaged with when size changes or is called out as a problem. Teaching children positive lifestyle behaviors from an early age teaches them that this is the default way of living life. From a young age, positive lifestyle behaviors are programmed into daily living. Kids don't know any other way. For example, if playing outside every day is the norm, they grow up wanting to be outside regularly. If they get a good night's sleep most nights, they learn what it feels like to feel refreshed and energized in the morning, and they seek that feeling out as they get older. As parents and people who care about children, in the new year, my wish is that you move away from focusing on a child's appearance, their size, or their weight or BMI numbers, and encourage lifestyle behaviors that not only help children's physical health, but also contribute to their emotional well-being and positive feelings about themselves. Number 3, minimize food and body talk. So not only are we shaping children's health, we are also shaping their attitudes about their bodies, other people's bodies, and what they believe about food. The binary way of categorizing bodies, which is all too common in our society, for example, quote, healthy versus unhealthy, and the way we think and talk about food, quote, good versus bad, these don't help children learn through an open-minded lens. Instead, they learn that what tastes good is bad for them, or what they don't really enjoy, they should be eating more of. They also learn that if their body doesn't fit into the standard definition of healthy looking, fit, and lean, they somehow are wrong. Of course, I'm not saying that we want kids to eat all the things all the time, but there should be flexibility, balance, and an attitude of latitude with food. And there certainly should be more acceptance of all bodies, regardless of their shape or size. So my wish for you in the new year is that you will think before you speak, which, as a side note, was advice my father used to give me when I was younger. But thinking before you speak, especially when it comes to food and bodies. Food and body shaming does not help. At a minimum, it just confuses children, and at the maximum, it may stifle their open-mindedness about food and other people's bodies, not to mention potentially hurt them deeply. So as you start this brand new year, I encourage you to dive into the archives of the Nourish Child podcast. I do have a few episodes that seem really relevant to this conversation, to the conversation of learning and becoming more aware of our attitudes and biases around bodies and food. So here are a few related podcast episodes for you to listen to. Number 184, Nourish the Person, Not the Shame. That's an interview with J.C. Lippold. Episode number 199, Stereotyping Children, about their size, eating, and activity level. Episode number 182, Cultural Foods and Shaming with Maya Feller. And number 177, Weight, Stigma in Youth with Dr. Rebecca Poole. I hope you start this year off on a good foot. I'm here for you should you need resources about feeding your children, either through this podcast, the nourishchild.com website, and on YouTube. Until next time, make sure you give that child in your life a loving squeeze today. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Nourish Child podcast, where the #1 goal is to help you grow a nourished child inside and out.